How are we, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. And I know I always apologise at the beginning of my videos saying I wanted to do this sooner. But I don't know what it is. Life just keeps getting in the way and one day becomes the next and it just carries on. But I will be trying to get things a bit more consistent. And I'm a little unsure what to do because I'm doing bands at the moment with this Let's Talk About. And I do really enjoy them. I'm sort of doing bands at the moment that sort of have like a 2-3 album thing going on because they still can get quite lengthy. I mean, I do want to do Incantation, I want to do Cannibal Corpse and Napalm Death and stuff like that. I don't know. Do you think it's better to do it in parts or do one big long stretch? I don't know what people prefer to watch. Maybe drop me a comment and let me know what you think about that. Say I was going to do Napalm Death, for example. Would you like that staggered into into like a 2 or 3 part, or would you want to just sit there and watch a whole hour and a half long thing? So, yeah, let me know. Anyway, right, today we are talking about, in my opinion, one of, if not the most exciting death metal band to emerge in the last decade, and that is the almighty, the anti-gods, Sulphur Aeon. We'll be talking about those today. Where to begin, really? Sulphur Aeon for the Eon. I can never pronounce that word quite. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. Is it Eon or Aeon? I suppose where you're from comes into it as well, and different accents, etc. But anyway, Sulphur Aeon are death metal primarily, verging into black metal. Black metal more aesthetically and more atmospherically. So if you take sort of Morbid Angel and Nile, the atmospheric side of those bands, the more sort of experimental bit more, when they go a bit weird and out there. I know Nile can really sort of push it to the metal with the technicality of it all, the shredding and the, you know, not so much that. There's not a lot of overly technical, you know, in that just blitzy way that Nile can do it. But yeah, sort of the sort of more atmospheric, more melodic, more epic part of Morbid Angel and Nile, maybe a bit of Hate Eternal as well, but think with the atmospherics and the aesthetic really of the later day Behemoth, or even later day Mayhem for that matter. Think like the last 2 or 3 Mayhem albums and the last 2 Behemoth albums, say, with that traditional death metal structure in a very sort of theatric, melodic when it needs to be, epic way. I know that word's thrown around, but it's very theatrical, very epic, very emotionally heavy as well in places, very cinematic. There you go, there's a word for you. Yeah, I mean, they would be perfect with, they don't really sound like any of those bands, but if you conjure up all 5 of those together, you kind of get the idea. They would be perfect, I think, if they did a tour opening for Morbid Angel, or opening for Nile. In fact, yeah, they could. If you take 4 very similar but 4 very different bands. I mean, I wouldn't. Nile, Morbid Angel. What did I say? I said Behemoth and Mayhem. So that's 4 bands. Let's face it. If you're watching this video and you're into, you're probably going to own albums by all 4 of them, aren't you? So they're very different, but just similar enough for someone to buy at least 3 out of 4 of those you're going to have. And I think they could open for any of them. They'd go down well easily. They just slot in the middle between death metal and black metal, and they can appeal to both. Still a bit more death metal, but you get what I mean. Anyway, something else I wanted to say. Yes, right. Now, lyrically, image-wise, the artwork, the aesthetic of the bands, the whole philosophy of the band, everything is based on H.P. Lovecraft and the mainly the Cthulhu mythos as well. But yeah, I think Lovecraft in general, cosmic horror, you get all the gist of it. Funnily enough, I mean, Lovecraft just gets more and more popular with every year now, and his influence is just on so much, because I think, especially my generation, we grew up on, you know, John Carpenter films and Stephen King films, and the books, obviously. but he had so much influence on them, you know, and you don't realise that. You get into something and then you see who they're influenced by, and then you get into that. So, excuse me, like things like The Thing and Prince of Darkness by Lovecraft, and then with Stephen King, you've got stories like It could have easily have come out of the Lovecraft universe. You know, anything cosmic horror, really. I mean, that's a genre on its own now. Something out there and unknown, beyond human comprehension. A lot of today's... I was interviewing Thomas from At the Gates. He mentioned one. I think the guy's name was Thomas Ligotti. I think that was his name. It's sort of like the modern sort of hair of Lovecraft today. But a couple of Christmases ago, I asked for a H.P. Lovecraft book because, you know, people are asking me, you know, what do you want for birthday? I went, oh, you know, get H.P. Lovecraft, you know, one of those complete works, or, you know, a collection of Lovecraft things. There's some nice editions, or yeah, grab me a book, H.P. Lovecraft, and I ended up getting 3. So yeah, I'll show these off for you quickly. I've got this really nice one here, really nicely detailed. See Cthulhu there and the mountains, and really nice. And then that comes with a Cthulhu poster as well, which is in my son's bedroom right now. Got this one, cool on the inside there. And then this is the main one I use, but yeah, I've got this cool little box set as well with a load of collection there. I mean, Lovecraft as well, he's not that new in the metal genre, really. I mean, The Thing That Should Not Be by Metallica is about him. Obviously, the Call of Cthulhu on the instrumental that closes Ride the Lightning. I mean, I dare say he was mentioned before then. I don't know if Maiden or Angel Witch or Sabbath or someone mentioned it at some point. I'm trying to think now who the earliest metal band was to sing about him. I mean, Sabbath sung about a lot of Tolkien, J.R. Tolkien, didn't they? And so did Zeppelin. Don't know, when did Lovecraft find his way into metal? I want to say Metallica, but they can't be the first. But then, you know, Nile dive into it as well. I mean, as much as they cover Egyptology and all the mythology and history regarding that, they always do at least one song covering Lovecraft at some point. Obviously, Morbid Angel dived right deep into it. Then there's bands today like Portal from Australia, who I've yet to get hooked by them. I do try them. I love the atmosphere on their albums, but I've just not. Something's just not there. Do you know what I mean? But I will try with them. I know they've just released a new album. Maybe I'll see if I can jump on that one. There's another band called The Great Old Ones. Same sort of thing. Same, pretty much like Sulphur Aeon, really. The whole thing is based on that. So yeah, it's certainly not a new or that unique a thing. But I do think this band definitely do it the best. No doubt that'll piss someone off, but there you go. That's what we do. Let me get these in order. So, yeah, all right. So, 2010 was the first release with Sulphur Psalms, which was a demo. That, as far as I'm aware, was only it was an independent release, and it was download only. I'll link the band's Bandcamp page. You can buy it as a download now. It was released as a limited edition cassette by some record label. Yeah, good luck trying to get hold of that. Well, it's easy to get hold of. It's easy to find on Discogs or eBay. You just have to put down a monthly mortgage payment or sacrifice a child or one of your organs, a kidney or something. Or maybe something a bit more in demand, like a liver. I don't know. But yeah, it's fucking expensive, and it's not worth it. I'm sure it'll be reissued at some point, even if it's just like a bonus track on a future album or something. But it is a good release. I mean, if you're going to get into these, maybe if you like these albums, it's definitely worth checking out. Definitely worth getting a download if you do have a Bandcamp account. It's a bit more basic than what we get into later. It's a pretty much more straightforward death metal release with all the atmospherics and the melodics and the melodic shredding, and you know, there's hints of what's to come, but it's far from fully formed as we know them today. Aeons of Sulphur though is a fucking awesome track. That track is worth the admission alone. But I think you get 5 songs and an intro, something like that. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. Well worth your time. Yeah, it's 4 songs and an intro. There you go. But yeah, definitely worth checking out, and a really strong release, but a long way from what the band would go on to do. But you kind of get hints of where you're going. In fact, if you find this band to get maybe a little bit too much to get into at first, maybe go back to that and then work your way through. Maybe it's a bit more of a easier, digestible take on what they're doing. So next up in 2012, 2 years later is what I meant to say, they put out the EP, Deep Down They Sleep. Let me get that out because it's glaring. So you kind of get a hint there of what's to come. So trying to position it right so the light don't reflect off it. Yeah, so Deep Down They Sleep. So deep down under the ocean, you see a whale in the middle there going through like an ancient, looks like an ancient city. There's the back cover there. Awesome logo. Yeah, just the lyrics, and is this a funny weird colour? I know that's what we're all into nowadays. Yeah, like a green marbly colour there. 2 awesome tracks. I mean, these can easily fit onto any of the band's albums. I don't know if this will be, you know, maybe a reissue of an album later on. Maybe these will be edited onto an album, bit like Total Eclipse and Sanctuary, and there was another one. Was it Purgatory? Or was it? Might have been Purgatory on Killers. Yeah, the first 3 Iron Maiden albums, when they got reissued a few years back, they all had B-sides sort of edited into the album. It was always a crime that Total Eclipse never made it on Number of the Beast, so they fixed that on the reissue. But yeah, 2 tracks here. Deep Down They Sleep. Things kick off, certainly tick up a notch from the demo. They got a bit more of a foothold on where they're going and what they're doing. The intensity is certainly turned up. Real intense drumming on that first track. Shows like one of their special moves, as crazy and chaotic as they can get. You normally find the songs slowly build up rather than just, you know, and then we're in. It's the songs normally build up in an atmosphere and then build, and then the drums kick in later on. But then a special move they do is when it all just gets to about as intense as it can get. It just all reduces down to a slow, you know, nice, slow, thick, murky groove. And they do this on this song, and that's like an early sign of what's to come. It's like a special move that they introduce early on, and it's a nice, slow groove. And Ruins Underneath the Waves, which you could say is what this artwork is. Another great track, which is in the band's live set today. We'll be talking about that a bit later on. We'll be revisiting that soon. And then, how long was that? So that was in 2012. And then 2013, the following year, we have the debut full-length album. So that is Swallowed by the Ocean's Tide. So I've got the digipack. I did have a dual case of this, but when I saw that this digipack was available, I went and got it. I'm just trying to think. I can't quite tell. Let me show you this awesome artwork anyway. There he is, being released. I'm just wondering, is that in the background of that at some point? Is it? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. So that's this bit here. Yeah, there you go. So you see, fucking hell. Look, you see the way that spike just pokes there? That's that there. So, yeah. I finally solved that mystery. So, there you go. Yeah, but obviously, Cthulhu being released from his watery tomb. They're a 3-piece on this one. And I'm just trying to see if there's any good artwork here. Let's go through the band's lineup actually. So on these early releases, they are just a 3-piece. So it's a vocalist, a drummer. They just go by initials for some reason. But yeah, you've got T on guitar and bass on the first, from the demo, the EP, and the first 2 albums. M on vocals and D on drums. And then 2018 onwards, so the last album, you've got S on bass and A on guitars. So they've gone from a 3-piece to a 5-piece I think that's as they become a bit more of a live act. But yeah, right. Swallowed by the Ocean's Tide. Let's get into it. Absolute classic. Brilliant album. You've got Cthulhu writes the opening track. So again, everything just opens up sound-wise now. The band really, we've arrived with this album. All the hints have been in place, but now, yeah, we get the full reckoning of what is Sulphur Aeon. You got Cthulhu writes opens up. This like sort of minute and a half. There's lots of whispering. There's chanting. It's like a summoning of Cthulhu. Brilliant spoken word. There you go. A brilliant atmosphere. Fantastic way to start an album. Really builds the tension and the atmosphere up. Really great stuff. Exonerable Spirits as a beautiful solo. Very climatic and theatrical, emotionally heavy, but not in an overly technical way. You've just got everything just mixes together. The songs just hit you like a whirlwind, much like when I said with Hate Eternal. Everything just hits you up front, and the more you listen, the more it sort of deciphers and gets clearer, and sort of just looking into this storm, just this hurricane coming towards you. But the more you look into it, the more it just makes sense, sort of thing. Staring into the void, really, which is a pretty good analogy considering we're talking about Lovecraft. But there's fantastic riffing on where black ships sail. Brilliant, just a glorious song. The title track is just absolutely crushing. Almost bluesy riff at the beginning of the title track, funny enough. Like a bit of like an off-timed, weird sounding riff. Again, like sort of Mayhem do. Think on that Auto Ad KO album. You know, the way those blasphemers riffs would sometimes be a bit off kilter. And you've got Monolithic. That's a bit more of a basic, just straightforward death metal track, really. And Those Who Dwell, pure Morbid Angel on that track. It's just absolutely punishing. And most notably as well, this track finishes with a cover of on this is called Zombie, Zombi, and it's a cover, so a metalled up cover of the theme of Zombie Flesh Eaters, my favourite zombie film for those that are interested, since you asked. Yeah, love this film, and it's got a great theme at the beginning and end of throughout the film, really. If you've seen the film, you know the one. You know that eerie. It's just that drum bit. Really eerie, really atmospheric. Well, they do it and they metal it up, and it sounds fucking awesome. I mean, I've got a friend he's not really into his metal, but he's really into his horror. And I played him that, and I just went like, "Shut up! Like, put your earphones in, listen to this." Straight away, he realised the melody, and he went, "Fucking hell!" Right, and yeah, all the way through it, he was loving it. And that's a good sign since he's not a metaler. But yeah, great cover of a great piece of music. There's another little outlay there. So yeah, what a great debut. And yeah, we're rocking now. The band have well and truly arrived. And 2 years later, in 2015, we get the follow-up. This is where I jumped on board. This is Gateway to the Antisphere. Now, look at that fucking amazing artwork. If you see amongst here, these are actually like full wows, like killer wows, just to sort of give you the size of what's going on. And then you've got illustrations as well of of what the songs are about. That is more of a basic. That's the title track, and that's a more basic of what's going on the album cover there. In fact, let's show this a bit more up front and a bit bigger. I know it's what you all came for. You want to see that amazing artwork on vinyl. The artwork alone, you just could not keep that reduced to a CD, could you? So let's have a gander at this. Let's move this. Oh, get the. That's much better. Oh. On the inside there. So as I mentioned, they are a 3-piece on this album. You've got... Oh, it's all getting a bit complicated. One sec, you've got a poster. Can you make that? Might give that to my son, actually. That's pretty cool. I'll save the vinyl for last because I know you vinyl junkies are gagging to see that. So like a basic, I guess a basic form of what that front cover is that. So as the stars align, a portal is opened, the gateway to the antisphere, and the anti-gods are coming through the... You got to read Lovecraft, mate. That guy was off his nut. In the best possible way, of course. And right, let's have a look. So you wouldn't really want it. You want it black, really, don't you? On an album like that. Certainly don't want a pink one. I guess a marbly edition would have been nice, but not complaining in the slightest. And then black, but this is where it gets really cool. Look at that. Look at that spiral in the middle there. Crazy. So yeah, had to get it. I only started investing in vinyl last year, and that was one of my first ones I had to get. Right, let's get into the music. Gateway to the Antisphere. In short, it's a masterpiece. It's just a stunning piece of work. Another massive step forward for the band in terms of what they were doing. It just everything just takes one step forward, and everything just expands out a couple of miles as well. Just everything that's already there was there. It just all expands and opens out. Much more conducive, really. The theatrics have certainly taken up a notch. You know, when it opens as well, you can hear the rain, you can hear the waves. On the title track as well, you just hear this like cinematic, like something is just merging out to sea. There's whispering, there's silent, like there's spoken words, there's prayers, there's chants, there's rituals. It's all going on, and it all just conjures up this amazing atmosphere. The whole it's hard to talk about the tracks on an individual basis, because this album really does play like a, you could say it's a concept album, but I don't know if there's like one running narrative through it, but the whole theme is the same, isn't it? Just like with all the albums really. So yeah, a running theme. I don't know if it's a running thing, but it's 51 minutes in total, but it flies by, and you've got to listen to the whole thing. It just all just comes together wonderfully. It's a bit of a Abyss Hex is dark and eerie, and it's got like this, these quiet parts that are just eerie and dark. The whole song though is dark and melodic and a bit orchestral really in places. I mean, I think the band could easily play this live with an orchestra. That'd be fucking amazing. Bear with me one sec. I'm just going to put the light on. 2 secs. Starting to get a bit dark as I started this. Yeah, I mean, and not only that, it would be an amazing soundtrack to a film. I mean, the artwork on these albums is amazing, but it just, listening to it, they just fit together perfectly. They just complement each other wonderfully. I'm just going to turn it off in case it's a bit too bright. I can't quite figure out the lighting in this place. It's too dark 1 minute, too light the other. Anyway, let's carry on. Yeah, it's just reading along with this. I mean, I don't know how many people that would read Lovecraft are into metal, but I can't think of a better form of music to be the soundtrack to his stories, and it just conjures up the imagery better than any book could. Like, well, of course the books do. I mean, like an illustrated book or a book with artwork. There's plenty out there, but there's a really good edition of Call of Cthulhu. Actually, I think they did part 1. They've got part 2 coming out of it in the Mountains of Madness. Oh, I can't remember what it's called now, but yeah, artistically that does look really good. But again, this is just brilliant, and like the title track to this album, it sounds how that looks like. It just captures it. It just captures it wonderfully. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, just the water at the beginning, as I mentioned earlier, you hear the waves, and when that main riff kicks in, and it's I summon thee. You can fucking picture some anti-god just coming through the cosmos or out of the sea, and yeah, and when it kicks in as well, it's just catastrophic. It is the soundtrack to the. There's just the sense of dread as well. The atmosphere is there. This sounds fucking evil. There's an impending doom, and it is the soundtrack to the apocalypse. Like, as cliched a thing as that would be, it's just magnificent. It's absolutely magnificent. It's glorious. But like Dark Side of the Moon or The Wall or something like that, the single songs alone are good and work, but you need to listen to the whole album. It's the best way to put it, really. I mean, there's certain songs that stick out. I suppose, yeah. Abyss Hex and Gateway to the Antisphere are sort of, and what's the one afterwards? He Is the Gate, yeah, another great song. I mean, they're the 3 songs in the middle, and I suppose that's the centerpiece of the album. But even then, I mean, the last track is just called Conclusion. It's just like this little 2-minute eerie part at the end. But yeah, it works as one single piece, really. The song's a chapter in a book. You've got to listen to the whole thing. But yeah, this is one of the best albums to come out in the last 10 years. Definitely, it's fucking amazing, and really. If you're not on it, you really are missing out. You really should get into this band. They're absolutely phenomenal, and that's probably the best place to start. But it's a pretty perfect trilogy, to be honest. So yeah. Anyway, that's where I jumped on board in 2015. And then 2018, we had the third album, The Scythe of Cosmic Chaos. And this time, the band expands into a 5-piece. So from a 3-piece, they have an additional guitar and bass player come on board. From what I gather as well, the bass player also plays keyboards. So we're now fully fledged. I've got the special edition of... so this is in a nice sort of hardback book. I got the demo and burn it onto a disc. That's the and then the book kind of comes out. Oh, right. Come back to that. What else we got? Anything else? No. Right. So that's the artwork again. Absolutely phenomenal. I'll have to look up the artist of these albums because I'd get them. Not that I'm in a band or gonna be, but artwork. Oh, it just says M, so I'm guessing that's the guy. Oh, that's the vocalist. Oh, okay, that's interesting. And then, although it does say cover art, Ola. Oh, right, so M must do all the graphics in the middle, like in the booklets. And Ola Larson does the front covers. Let's see what he's done. Oh, he's done Disma, Towards the Megalith, featuring Craig, the guy that did the first couple of vocals on the first couple of Incantation albums. Thy Primordial, Undergang, Usurpress. Yeah, so the guy's done quite a bit. Anyway, right, carrying on. Back to where I was. Yeah, so the Scythe of Cosmic Chaos. Oh yeah, look, how cool is that in the middle there? Thing is, it focuses on the thing and then the screen goes blurry for ages. Yes, I'm guessing the singer does all this sort of stuff. As you can see, we're getting a bit more artistic in the way in the band photos and whatnot. Then you got the awesome stuff. Right, so musically speaking, yet again, we carry on where we left off. We start as we mean to go on. And like I said with the last album, really, it's one step forward and, yeah, a few more 100 miles expanding. We're getting bigger and wider with every album. Yeah, everything just evolves and expands even more. The opening track, what's the opening track called? Call of Starry Wisdom. This one opens with clean vocals, actually. It starts off quite doomy. It kicks in. And then, he does a bit of David Vincent, come to me, all that stuff. And I'll tell you what, think like David Vincent when he does clean vocals, but then think Thomas Gabriel. So think Celtic Frost or Triptychon, so we're getting really atmospheric now. We're really getting, we're really expanding our horizons. This isn't just about shredding and grinding your head in. This is about atmosphere and songwriting and painting a picture and conjuring up imagery. But yeah, think later day Celtic Frost and Triptychon. Think it's very ritualistic as well. Very there's all spells going on and summons and prayers and again chants and spoken words and whispers, and he does all sorts of things with his voice. The opening track as well, which I've been speaking about the whole time, Cult of Starry Wisdom, it kicks into a solo at the end. It's like the climax of the song. It's so melodic. It's really beautiful, but just so so devastating at the same time as well. It really brings a climax to the song. But again, this is another masterpiece. It's just as good as the first two albums, but it's just expanded upon. I think it just Swallowed to the Ocean's Tide is just a more basic version of what this is. So if you take Swallowed by the Ocean's Tide and this, two very different albums, but Gateway to the Antisphere just slots in nicely to the middle and just bridges the two. So it's a real nice. You see the flow over the three albums and the evolution of the band. Summoning, the summoning of, I can't read the thing on this. The summoning of Nyarlathotep, I think it is. That's actually quite a catchy track. Actually, again, conjures to mind a bit of Morbid Angel. You know the way the Morbid Angels have that sometimes on there. You know the way they do like a little hooker and a little lick at the end of a riff. There's loads of hooks on that, and there's like a clean vocals that are sort of chanted. It's like, no, I can't remember what the fucking word is again. Sorry, what is it? Nyarlathotep. No, but it's like Nyarlathotep. You know, I'm not going to do it, but it's chanted along in a hooky, catchy kind of way. Lungs into Gills is another highlight. Again, though, beautiful climatic sort of solo melodic section towards the end. The last riff on the end of the song, it's just like a ding, like it's still distorted. It's not clean, but it's like a bit like riff at the end that's just haunting, and it just stays there and just rings out. Thou Shall Not Summon His Name, the final track, I think is the best album closer since God of Emptiness. It's that good. It's got everything. Devastating riffs, punishing drums, but atmospherics, and again, I'm repeating myself, I know, but it just kind of like this. It's very cinematic and very epic and just vast in the way it just paints this picture and conjures up this imagery. And again, it's just very devastating and dreadful and scary, and it's atmospheric. Yeah. I'm just repeating words now, but I'm just trying to conjure up the whole thing. Listening to these albums is like reading a book. You just dive into it and you get lost, and more is revealed to you with every listen, and every listen. Things just make a bit more sense, and things come more accessible and more. You just get into the music more and more every time, and I think they've really put together this wonderful world that complements these books wonderfully. And they really are a credit to the death metal genre. And then last but not least, we've got this live album. I'm not even going to pronounce it. Unspeakable Cult. I don't know what this is. I'll let you read it. There's the. Sorry, I'm getting a message there. There you go. Fuck off, whoever you are. Live at the Cult Fest in 2019. Pretty basic. You don't get a lot really. Some live photos there. This is hand numbered. I got number 227 out of 326. Awesome live album. If you're a fan, definitely get this. If you're getting into the band and this is your introduction and your guide to the band, well, definitely get this as well. This is fucking essential. Awesome set list. All the essentials are there. It's about an hour long set list. You get about 5 songs off the latest album. Oh shit. Booklet just fell out of that. But then you get the best tracks off the first two albums, and you even get the second track off of this, Ruins Under the Waves. Let's see if I can quickly grab. Yep, I've got the artwork anyway, so that's the so I'm going to show these off at the end, and that's pretty much it. So you've got, so far so good. We're 10 years in. 10,010 was the first demo, and 2020 last year was when we got the last album. So far we've got a demo, an EP, 3 albums, and a live album. So the band are well and truly solidified now, well and truly established. This is a fantastic live set. It's a bit like it's a soundboard recording, I think. You kind of hear the crowds now and then. You could say it sounds a little bit too clean in places, but I'd rather too clean than too raw. And it just shines the songs in a little bit more light as well. When you hear them live, it kind of reduces them down to a more basic form, but it also shows how complex and well written they are as well. So the songs make a lot more sense live, if anything. But out of the studio albums, though, the main 3, so far, the perfect trilogy in my eyes. I mean, each one is the best one for its own reasons. I really don't know how to tally them up, really. I mean, I suppose this is the best one because it's the most sort of basic and straightforward. But this one is just a fucking masterpiece. I think future albums, death metal albums, are going to be measured by that. But then this is just as good. It's its own album. It just goes off on one in its own way. It's much more melodic, much more atmospheric and theatrical, while this one's a bit more devastating. But all of them are fantastic. I mean, if you were just going to get one, why would you just get one? That's the thing. You need all 3. I suppose Gateway to the Antisphere is the best one to start with because that's the one in the middle. So you kind of get an overall view of what the band are about. If that's a bit too much, then maybe start with the demo or start with the first one. This is a bit more basics to start and go on. But when you get to that, you're a million miles from this. So yeah, it's a bit of a conundrum, really. But get all 3, all of them, stunning albums. And like I say, if you like any of the bands that I mentioned whilst describing them, then yeah. And I dare say, you're probably already really familiar with them, and you're already initiated and whatnot. But yeah, definitely, I think they're the best bands to come out in the last 10 years. I mean, I think one of the best albums to come out is Skinless Agony by Brood of Hatred. That was one of my first videos. I did fucking that album. I don't know anyone else that heard of it. I think that was actually Sulphur Aeon's Gateway to the Antisphere was actually my second, and that was my album of the year of that year. But I did do a video of that. If you want to go back and watch that, that was an amazing album. Dead Congregation are another band. They've been going longer than I thought, though, to be honest. But yeah, they're still definitely one of the torchbearers, one of the bands that are going to take death metal into the future. Then you've got bands like Portal and whatnot. I know. I realise their importance, but I've just not jumped on board with them yet. But I'll have to give them another go. But anyway, you've made it to the end. Thank you very much. I'd say Sulphur Aeon, absolutely devastating. You've got to get these. There's absolutely fantastic death metal. So thanks so much for watching this. We've got Maiden Cast coming up on Friday, as usual. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. I'll be doing another Let's Talk About. I'm going to be carrying on with death metal and thrash metal as usual, but I'm going to start dipping into a bit more classic rock as well. Maybe doing a bit of Sabbath and Thin Lizzy coming up as well. I've got a few orders coming, so I might do a few unboxing videos and whatnot. So, yep. Thanks for watching as always. There's plenty more to come. If you are new to the channel, welcome aboard. Thank you so much for watching. And all I ask, if you do want to support the channel, just give us one of them. Give us a subscribe. Share this with your mates. And as usual, thank you. Thank you so lot. Thanks for watching. So, yeah, stay safe. Stay sane. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Lift weights. Eat eggs. Drink rum. Smoke cigars. Read the classics. And most importantly, listen to metal.